The air in Isale hung thick with the smell of diesel, salt, and raw ambition. Tari, known for his sharp mind, Kola, the group's unbreakable shield, and Funk, the dazzling face of the operation, stood atop a stack of shipping containers overlooking the Lagos Lagoon. They were the three pillars holding up a small empire built on hustling contested import levies and providing protection for Chief Bello's political interests. Tari traced a line across the oily metal, imagining it as the border of a legitimate business empire. His dream was to shed the street life, convert their influence into political power, and become a man of respect. Kola, however, only saw the immediate threat, his eyes constantly scanning the alleys below for rival crews trying to claim a piece of their illicit income. Funk, leaning casually against the railing, looked every bit the successful fashion entrepreneur she pretended to be. Her vibrant Ankara fabric store was the perfect front, a legal revenue stream that kept the authorities mostly off their backs, financed by their illegal collections. She was the one who could walk between the markets and the high society clubs, making their network invisible. Tari was tired of being Chief Bello's errand boy. Bello, the local political godfather, had promised him a party ticket to run for a council seat, a step up from being a glorified debt collector. But the chief's demands grew dirtier by the day, requiring the suppression of dissenting community voices and the strong arming of local shop owners. "We need leverage," Kola, Tari muttered during a quiet evening meeting at their makeshift headquarters, a forgotten storage room near the docks. "Bello is a shark. We give him our power, and he'll swallow us whole when he's done feeding." Kola grunted, cleaning his favorite, well-worn machete. Kola only trusted what he could see, touch, and fight. He saw Tari's political aspiration as a weakness, a distraction that exposed their flank. He warned Tari, "The closer you move to Bello's light, the darker the shadows you will cast on us. And those shadows always hold knives, Tari." A new crew, calling themselves the Mainland Dogs, had started encroaching on their established toll points, causing immediate and bloody friction. They operated with a brutal efficiency and intelligence that didn't match the usual disorganized street thugs Isale was used to fighting off. This organized threat was costing them thousands in uncollected fees daily. Kola was itching for a full-scale war, demanding permission to run the new rivals out of the territory with force. Tari, always calculating, insisted on diplomacy first, believing the bloodshed would only draw unwanted police attention, jeopardizing his planned transition into politics. The tension between the friends was palpable, split between Tari's long game and Kola's immediate action. Funk, usually the mediator, remained quiet, her gaze distant as she listened to their arguments. She suggested they needed better intelligence on the Mainland Dogs, rather than just brute force. She volunteered to use her connections outside the area, promising to find out who was funding this aggressive new incursion into their domain. Funk's nightly excursions became more frequent, always citing sourcing trips for her burgeoning fashion line, but her explanations fell thin to Kola. He noticed a new confidence in her demeanor, a calculating glint in her eyes that was unnerving, far exceeding the usual savvy street smarts he admired. One evening, Kola secretly followed her, navigating the crowded streets until they reached a dimly lit, high-end hotel in Ikoyi, far from their usual slums. He watched from the shadows as Funk met not a fabric supplier, but a sleek, well-dressed man who passed her a heavy, sealed envelope before they shared a deeply intimate conversation. Kola, consumed by jealousy and suspicion, struggled with Tari's absolute trust in her. Funk was Tari's anchor, his declared true north, and the one person he believed would follow him into a legitimate life. Kola realized that Funk was not merely a hustler, she was playing a dangerous, private game, one that involved a new, powerful backer and serious money. Tari finally secured the crucial political protection deal from Chief Bello. Bello needed Tari's crew to intimidate all competitors in the upcoming election, offering Tari control of the entire import cargo clearing operation as payment, a massive leap in power and revenue. This would mean they were untouchable. He celebrated by promising Funk that her fashion label would be the official outfitter for Bello's campaign, giving her access to a new level of clientele. Tari felt they were on the cusp of everything they had dreamed of: power, wealth, and legitimacy. He felt the long years of hardship were finally about to pay off. Kola, still troubled by Funk's secret meeting, couldn't share Tari's elation. He warned his friend that the mainland dogs were now organized enough to be an army and that this new cargo contract made them a primary target. Tari dismissed the concern, assuring Kola that with Bello's official protection, any further aggression would be met with swift and legitimate state force. The new mainland dogs operation suddenly escalated from territorial skirmishes to an outright sabotage. They ambushed one of Tari's crucial cargo convoys heading from the Apapa wharves, destroying 2 trucks and wounding several crew members. It was a clear, brutal declaration of war, targeting their most lucrative asset. Tari's careful plan was in ruins, his political shield failing to materialize as promised. Chief Bello coldly washed his hands of the violence, stating that protection meant security from the state, not from rival gangs. He pressured Tari to eliminate the threat immediately, or lose the cargo clearing contract entirely. Kola, his fury unleashed, was finally given the green light to retaliate. But as he rallied the crew, he noticed a subtle, chilling detail: the mainland dogs knew the exact timing and route of the convoy, information only the 3 of them, Tari, Funk, and Kola, had access to. The betrayal, Kola realized, was internal. Tari, desperate to salvage the situation, started meticulously cross-referencing all their recent activity and communications. He reviewed their surveillance logs and expense reports, looking for anomalies. His initial suspicion fell heavily on Kola, whose volatile temper and open contempt for Bello made him a prime candidate for an opportunistic betrayal. He noticed several large, unexplained withdrawals from their emergency street fund, funds that were only accessible to Funk for emergency political payments. When questioned, Funk provided vague explanations about necessary bribes to secure an offshore clearing permit, but her eyes kept shifting. Tari dismissed his doubts about Funk, attributing her nervousness to the sudden pressure. But the seeds of suspicion were planted. He knew one of his 2 trusted partners was either a fool or a traitor, and if it wasn't the hot-headed Kola, the possibility of it being Funk was a cold, frightening thought he quickly buried. Kola was still consumed by the betrayal and Funk's strange behavior. He broke into the Ekoi hotel room where he'd seen her meet the man, finding only a discarded cigar box and a high-end designer scarf that wasn't Funk's. Crucially, he also found an old, faded photograph hidden beneath the mattress. The photograph showed Chief Bello in his younger days, sitting with a woman who bore a startling resemblance to Funk, holding a newborn baby. The implications hit Kola with the force of a physical blow. Funk was not just a hustler, she was Bello's illegitimate daughter. Her mother was the woman in the photograph. Funk hadn't been securing a clearing permit, she had been blackmailing her father, using the secret to gain political and financial leverage. The mainland dogs were not rivals, they were proxies, a hammer she was wielding against her own bloodline to clear a path for herself to the top of the local political food chain. Kola confronted Funk, not with violence, but with a photo and a quiet intensity that terrified her. He revealed his knowledge of her meetings and her true lineage, demanding to know the truth behind the mainland dog's attacks. Funk initially denied everything, but the weight of the photograph broke her resolve. She confessed her identity as Bello's daughter and revealed that her mother had been cast aside and left to poverty in Isale, a secret her father ruthlessly concealed. The mainland dogs were indeed her creation, funded by the money she siphoned off their street collections and the blackmail payments from Bello's political rivals. "I am not a hustler, Kola. I am a claimant," she said, her eyes blazing with years of suppressed rage and ambition. "Bello built his empire on my mother's pain. I am simply taking back what is rightfully mine, and Tari's dream of politics is the perfect path to legitimize my control over Isale. Plot twist: Funk revealed the final, scandalous piece of the puzzle. she wasn't just leveraging Tari for her scheme, she was protecting Kola. The man Kola saw her meet in Ikoyi was not a lover, but a private investigator, and their secret rendezvous was planned to divert suspicion onto a fake, offshore connection. She confessed that Tari, who seemed so focused on legitimacy, had actually cut a private side deal with the state police commissioner, promising him a large percentage of Bello's assets in exchange for the commissioner's neutrality during the inevitable street war. Tari was plotting a double cross, betray Bello and then betray Kola and Funk. Funk explained that Tari had planned to frame Kola for the mainland dog's attacks, using his temper as the convenient excuse, allowing Tari to step in as the savior and claim the entire operation. Kola, reeling from the complex layer of betrayals, realized his loyalty to Tari had blinded him to the leader's ultimate greed. Funk then admitted the most personal and painful secret: her love was not for Tari, but for Kola. She had kept her feelings buried, knowing that Tari's position as the group's leader and their financier would make him untouchable, and her own ambitious plans meant she could never truly trust anyone. Her constant proximity to Tari was a calculated move to secure a position of power and to mask her true feelings for Kola, which would have made her a target. She confessed that her entire scheme was ultimately designed to secure a future where she and Kola could live the life entirely, once the necessary capital and power were secured. Kola, the loyal, simple soldier, found his life turned upside down. The betrayal and ambition he had feared in Tari was real, but Funk's betrayal was rooted in a love he never dared to believe in. He had to choose between his childhood brotherhood and the woman who held the key to his future and his heart. With Tari secretly moving against them, Kola made his decision. He agreed to help Funk execute her final, audacious plan, to expose Chief Bello's corruption during a massive, televised political rally, simultaneously taking down Tari's police connection. It was a perilous alliance, but necessary for survival. Their plan involved securing a digital ledger that detailed Chief Bello's illicit transactions, currently hidden in a safe in Bello's campaign office. The ledger would confirm Funk's identity, expose Bello's long history of crime, and provide irrefutable evidence of Tari's treasonous communication with the police. Funk, now operating with Kola as her co-pilot, found a new strength. She had the brains, the ambition, and now, the muscle and unwavering trust of the only person she truly cared for. They prepared for the confrontation that would either make them the rulers of Isale or lead to their complete downfall. Tari, oblivious to Kola's knowledge of the betrayal, continued to manipulate the situation. He leaked false information to the mainland Dogs field commander, claiming Kola was planning to betray Funk by selling them to Chief Bello for a large cash reward. He aimed to sow chaos and distrust within their network. He also prepared to meet with the state commissioner one last time, with the final piece of evidence he needed to frame Kola, a crudely forged financial ledger that placed all the illegal street collections solely under Kola's name. Tari felt a twisted sense of relief. He was finally stepping out of the shadows and into the legitimate light of political power. However, Tari's actions solidified Kola and Funk's determination. They understood the cold, calculating greed of their former friend and knew that the only way to survive was to strike first and strike decisively. The final confrontation was set to take place at the massive rally planned for the next day. Under the cover of night, Kola and Funk used their intimate knowledge of Isale's back alleys to infiltrate Chief Bello's main campaign office. Kola disabled the office's weak security, and Funk used her family knowledge to find the hidden wall safe where the digital ledger was stored. As Funk worked on the combination, Kola stood guard, his tension a physical presence. He realized that this was the most important act of their lives, more than any street fight or heist. It was about choosing integrity and true partnership over the corrosive ambition that had consumed Tari. The safe clicked open, revealing a simple hard drive. Funk quickly copied the ledger, and as she finished, they heard the heavy footsteps of Chief Bello's personal security detail approaching the office. Their time was up, and they had to move, but they had the proof. The morning of the rally, the streets of Isale were buzzing with a mixture of excitement and fear. Chief Bello's supporters were loud, but the presence of armed police and Tari's well-dressed enforcers created an atmosphere of barely contained violence. Tari oversaw the security arrangements, enjoying his new role as the architect of the day. Tari noticed Funk and Kola moving together, a united front, but he misread their unity as fear. He approached them, his smile cold and predatory. He casually mentioned that the police were looking for the perpetrators of the cargo sabotage and would soon have a key suspect in custody. Funk met his gaze without blinking, her eyes hard. She handed him a small, sealed box, claiming it was her gift for his victory, a customized political button with his campaign slogan. Tari accepted the gift, oblivious that the box contained a small, untraceable listening device that would record his final, damning conversation with Bello. Chief Bello took the stage to deafening cheers. He spoke of progress, new roads, and the elimination of criminal elements from the community. Tari stood just off stage, basking in the reflected glory, feeling the intoxicating rush of power that came from orchestrating the entire event, ready to receive his promised reward. Funk and Kola were positioned near the main media broadcast truck, Kola's hand gripping the hard drive containing the evidence. They looked out at the crowds, knowing that within minutes, this political celebration would descend into pandemonium, forcing Isale to choose a side. As Bello reached the climax of his speech, Funk signaled a small, nervous operative by the sound crew. The operative began preparing to switch the rally's main media feed, diverting the live broadcast from Bello's podium to the incriminating audio feed Funk had prepared. The operative flipped the switch. Instead of Bello's booming voice, the massive speakers and the live TV feed suddenly broadcast a private conversation, Chief Bello's voice, clearly heard, discussing the sabotage of the cargo trucks and explicitly authorizing Tari to use lethal force against the traitors, Kola and Funk. Then, Tari's voice came on the feed, confirming his plans to frame Kola and revealing his private deal with the state commissioner to seize Bello's legitimate assets. The crowd froze in stunned silence, then erupted into confused, angry shouts. The smooth transition of power had become a public, scandalous massacre. Chief Bello, caught completely off guard, watched his political career explode in front of him. Tari, realizing the gift box was a trap, was immediately surrounded by Bello's now enraged personal guards, who realized their boss and their future were now ruined, with Tari being the one to blame. As the guards advanced on Tari, Kola bolted toward the podium, the digital ledger held aloft. Bello, seeing the hard drive, screamed, recognizing it as the one item that held the power to send him to prison for life, and confirming Funk's role in the entire scheme. A desperate scramble ensued. Kola fought Bello's security, shielding Tari, who was now just another target. Funk, using the chaos she created, slipped through the crowd and headed for a prearranged escape route, knowing the political fallout would be immediate and severe for everyone involved. In a moment of pure instinct, Kola threw the hard drive into the crowd, knowing that destroying it would protect him and Funk, but exposing it would finish Bello. It was a calculated risk that placed the power in the hands of the angry, betrayed citizens of Isale. Tari, seeing the crowd turn into a mob and realizing he was trapped, saw Kola's selfless act of protecting him from Bello's men. He understood the depth of his friend's loyalty, a loyalty he had coldly thrown away for a lie of legitimate power. He knew he had lost everything. Go, Kola. Go to Funk. Tari shouted, pushing his friend toward the escape route as the police, finally moving, tried to gain control of the chaotic rally. Tari used his own body as a shield, allowing Kola the crucial seconds needed to disappear into the masses. Tari was arrested, along with the furious Chief Bello. The mainland dogs, their true purpose complete, melted back into the shadows. Isale had lost its political godfather and its aspiring new leader in a single, televised spectacle of greed and betrayal. Under the cover of night, Kola and Funk used their intimate knowledge of Isale's back alleys to infiltrate Chief Bello's main campaign office. Kola disabled the office's weak security, and Funk used her family knowledge to find the hidden wall safe where the digital ledger was stored. As Funk worked on the combination, Kola stood guard, his tension a physical presence. He realized that this was the most important act of their lives, more than any street fight or heist. It was about choosing integrity and true partnership over the corrosive ambition that had consumed Tari. The safe clicked open, revealing a simple hard drive. Funk quickly copied the ledger, and as she finished, they heard the heavy footsteps of Chief Bellow's personal security detail approaching the office. Their time was up, and they had to move, but they had the proof.